when Goldie Roger found the One Piece treasure, he didn't do nothing because he was too early. And even earlier on, of course, God Valley, we had all the top players of the old era, from Figarland Garling to, of course, Saturn, to Roxy Zebek, Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, and Kaido all being on the same team, to, of course, legends like Monkey D. Garp, and of course, can't forget to mention Bogart. And then there was also Goldie Roger, Silvers Rayleigh, and Scott Gabon, the monster trio of the Pirate King crew early on in their days. And even you could talk about Kuma being there, Ivankov, and even Shanks, but I digress. This island was crazy. What if I told you Oda just revealed how the One Piece will be found with this last page of all the new era of big players for, of course, the One Piece treasure? Yes, that's right. It will be similar to the God Valley incident, combined with, of course, Roger, who, of course, named the island Laughtale. And I think that's going to be the replacement for the battlefield. And Joy Boy's One Piece being the ultimate treasure, let's do a deep dive on who Oda wants to be involved with, of course, the One Piece. Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, is the first character I want to take a look at when it comes to, of course, Oda highlighting individuals and the race for Joy Boy's treasure, the One Piece. We know Sabo went up against the Gorosei and was severely injured by Imu when attempting to save King Cobra, who, of course, we know the Gorosei view as a traitor, and of course, who told Sabo to survive so he can relay the message of Vivi being part of the Willy D, just like Monkey D. Luffy, which hits home to Sabo. Not only were both his brothers Ace and Luffy D members, but also, of course, the leader of the revolutionaries, Monkey D. Dragon. So Sabo, who of course seen Norona Imu, of course, the man who sits on the woman who sits on the empty throne, we do not know the gender yet, sees the high stakes in the One Piece treasure because it helps him get one step closer to understanding why the world is the way it is and how the future can change and bring freedom, which of course the Warrior Liberation Joy Boy, that's what his goal was. And I do want to say this, or his job, but that's besides the point. All I'm saying is I understand Sabo's place in this very important panel. Next, I want to talk about Figarland Garling and how he, of course, the last time we saw him in the manga, he was in his prime, fighting a young Goldie Roger on God Valley, which of course we know he lost because it's Goldie Roger. And most likely is how Shanks ended up on the Pirate King's crew. But that's besides the point. The reason I, of course, bring up, of course, Roger is because you have to understand this. Roger ended up finding the One Piece treasure and starting the Great Pirate Age, which makes me think Figarland Garling might gain some interest in the treasure as of right now. He's just, of course, just punishing celestial dragons, and he's the commander, of course, of the Holy Knights. So I think he's probably tired of course, punishing these celestial dragons who needs to be judged. But with Dragon, of course, waiting for their move, I could see Figarland Garling leading the Knights in the final saga for the race to not only stop, of course, the Revolutionary Army, but also try to gain the One Piece treasure. But even going for the last Roman Poneglyph would be crazy because we know Shiri the Rain has a theory that the world government actually have the last Roman Poneglyph. So it could be a situation where the world government is guarding it, and all in all, Oda didn't put him in that last panel for no reason. Maybe Figarland Garling could have some knowledge when it comes to that man marked by flames. Now let's start with Aokiji, who I believe was one of the more interesting characters in this panel, of course, because he is the only Yonko commander on this panel. We didn't see Zoro or Ben Beckman or even Mihawk, which of course means he might not actually truly be under Blackbeard, which is crazy after his fight with Garp, his former, of course, trainer, who taught him everything he knew on the Pirate Island Beehive. But don't forget what he told Smoker on Punk Hazard and how him working alone without the Marines could be better in curating actual change. He said, Smoker, I'm still me. And with Blackbeard telling him the only neat alignment of interest, could he actually try to stop Blackbeard from obtaining the One Piece treasure on the island Laughtale itself? which would be crazy to see the former Admiral take on the Yonko in a good old-fashioned Yonko vs. Admiral fight, which of course, as of recently after Luffy and Kizaru, definitely has us more sure than ever that the debate is pretty much over. But that's beside the point. I believe Aokiji has a hidden agenda that will shock even the most intelligent One Piece fans, but we'll just have to wait and see when that ice melts, because I truly believe Aokiji Kuzan, the blue pheasant, might have a big part in what happens with the One Piece treasure. Now I gotta discuss one of my favorite characters on that page, Koby, who we seen recovering in the hospital, listening to of course Vegapunk's message, and of course realizing it's the end game of the One Piece story. And the last time we seen him in action, he did a Garp level move called Honesty Impact that caused shock waves to everybody who witnessed it. And when of course the Willet D was mentioned, he brought up of course Garp and his boy Monkey D. Luffy, who inherited the Joy Boy name. So we know how much Koby is interested in the final saga and the race for the One Piece. We just don't know what role he will play because of his unique ties to the Yonko Luffy. All I know is Koby might be the weakest of the group that was on this last page, but he holds some of the most important potential in this series, so expect him to be present when the One Piece treasure is found, and this could lead him to actually gaining the goal of becoming an admiral. Of course, the scariest member of this special group on this page highlighting the One Piece treasure is Nerona Imu, who sits on the empty throne, and of course who the menacing Gorosei with great mythical powers and insane levels of haki and regenerative powers as well. The hacks is crazy with the Gorosei, the 5 elder stars, they all bow down to of course Nerona Imu. Even Ivanka was shocked to hear the name Imu, as it means someone from the Void Century who won against Joy Boy is still alive. So let's not of course act dumb and state the obvious that this character is a final villain who will face Luffy aka Joy Boy, and it makes me think of Whitebeard's statement of a huge war starting once the One Piece is found. So Luffy and Imu's battle will most likely have huge ties to the One Piece treasure, and I do think he might even attempt to obtain the treasure because of Joy Boy's resurgence in the One Piece world. While when Roger found it, like you have to understand, when Roger found it, it seemed like he did not mind at all. But all in all, expect big moments from Imu to end the series, because I think he knows Joy Boy is not Roger, and Luffy he's definitely gonna take serious. He already had Luffy's bounty poster alongside Vivi and Blackbeard, so Imu's definitely going to be a big player in the One Piece treasure race. There is also a hidden swordsman who's highlighted in this panel, so I'm not going to go too deep on this because we don't know the character, but I have seen some speculations. I've seen people saying it's Roxy Debek, the man who wanted to become the king of the world. I've also seen people say it's the man marked by flames who causes whirlpools, and of course is connected to the final road poneglyph. But the theory that makes the most sense is Figarland Garling of course probably had a son, aka Shanks' brother. We all seen the Holy Knights silhouettes when Dragon spoke on them, so I think there was a character that looked very eerily similar to Shanks. And a lot of people are talking about even Shanks. That character could have been the one who actually met the Gorosei and not Shanks. That's a crazy theory. All I want to say is this: we're waiting for their move right now, so we don't know who the character is. We're waiting for the Holy Knights in general to make a move, but if the strongest Holy Knight in their prime will definitely cause problems when it comes to the chase for the One Piece, and Oda's probably going to set up some crazy stuff. God Valley on Laughtale, who knows? Shanks against maybe his twin brother, or Shanks versus the strongest Holy Knight, or even Luffy going against the strongest Holy Knight. We do not know where Oda's going to go with this, but I definitely feel like it is Figarland Garling's strongest Holy Knight that he's going to send out. Egghead Island has been the biggest tease of a character I've ever seen, and of course I'm talking about Monkey D. Dragon. Like Dragon has always been a tease, but Egghead Island has put this on steroids. We had Kumo wilding out and trying to leave, of course, the island. And of course we had Sabo, who came back from Mary Joa's, seeing Imu and Gorosei's powers, and of course the Luther's kingdom going down, got destroyed, and now he's hearing this Vegapunk message, who we talked to in the beginning of the arc about his death. And we also got Dragon going to Ohara to pay respect for Clover, who we just got revealed was a D, and now of course we've seen him be revealed to finally be a former Marine. Not shocking because his father is Monkey D. Garp, the hero of the Marines, and of course Akainu's obsession during Marineford Marineford War. I definitely am gonna say this: Dragon better be a main character when it comes to, of course, the One Piece. And I definitely feel like, especially with his son being Joy Boy, aka liberating the people, which is the main purpose of the Revolutionary Army, and of course Kuma and then the Nika stuff and all that, I think we're about to get some crazy stuff, especially with Dragon, the lore, his tattoo. He definitely is so tied, of course, to Joy Boy's treasure, the One Piece, that if he's not around, it just doesn't make sense. The next character who could have found the One Piece in a year if he was the main character, these were Ichiro Oda's words, not mine, when speaking, of course, on the current Fleet Admiral Akainu. And I must admit, I cannot deny his powers from, like, let's be honest, he was the first top tier to actually defeat another top tier 1v1. No distractions, no interferences, when he beat former Admiral Aokiji on Bug Hazard during the time skip. And I do want to say this, his performance on Marineford was amazing. This is the war of the best, and he's going against Whitebeard and taking half his face off and putting a magma fist in his gut. Like, that was crazy. Then surviving a rage onslaught by the world's strongest man, and after that fighting all his Whitebeard commanders. That's all of Yonko's commanders, plus Crocodile was there too. And there's no denying Akainu's power, but recently he's been thinking more than fighting. And like that moment when Kuma came back to Mary Joa's, and he was like, what the hell, what is purpose does Kuma have here? And then of course we also had Vegapunk's message. I definitely feel like Oda wants him to go against the world government. Maybe him yelling at the Gorosei was a hint of Akainu finally talking, not just talking back to them, but maybe making moves against Gorosei and Imu behind their backs, especially when the One Piece comes into play. He calmed down the Marines that wanted to go for the One Piece when hearing Vegapunk's message, but I feel like maybe he's thinking about the One Piece treasure more than he likes to admit. But he definitely has some interest in that. No wonder Oda included him in that final panel, because even if he goes for the One Piece, or if he's fighting people who are going for the One Piece, Akainu will have to make a move. Now let's talk about the character everybody is not taking serious. Even his commanders who made him a Yonko in the first place, the world's greatest swordsman Mihawk with a 3.5 billion berry bounty, to of course the former warlord Crocodile with a nearly 2 billion berry bounty. These insane bounties are not taking him serious. Buggy the clown might actually not be a clown when it comes to him obtaining the One Piece, and with him of course exposing how he wanted Shanks to of course follow Roger's footsteps and become the Pirate King, and how he was so disappointed when Shanks decided not to. And with Buggy having this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, he will definitely go for the One Piece. And don't forget, Buggy went from, of course, being a regular East Blue pirate, losing to East Blue Luffy, to becoming a Grand Line pirate, and even befriending his captain, the Pirate King's son, Ace, while also escaping Impel Down and joining the Marineford War, to becoming, of course, a warlord right after post-time skip, and even actually more shockingly becoming a Yonko. Oda might go as far as make Buggy the Pirate King, all for the laughs, instead of Luffy. And I genuinely believe this, but if, of course, we will just have to wait and see. I think Luffy has to become Pirate King because he always talks about becoming Pirate King, but I won't be surprised if Buggy definitely gets that title as well for the laughs. And if Oda does that, Oda, I must admit, it better be April Fool's, but I must admit, it would be funny to see. The man who Oda's been hyping up as the final villain for the longest time in the story, who recently took out Law from, of course, the One Piece race and stole his road poneglyph. And Imu has his eyes on this character as well as a big threat. Of course, while his crew took down the hero of the Marines and Monkey D. Garp. And also, of course, his other crew members has, of course, now Saturn as a Gorosei they can shapeshift into, which I do not understand what they're going to do with that, but I feel like it's going to be scary regardless. I definitely think they've been doing big moves. As of course, Blackbeard crew members have even kidnapped Pudding from Whole Cake Island to read the world poneglyph, and even have knowledge, of course, on the man marked by flames. There's only one person actively after Tej, and that of course is Shanks, who of course he messed up back in the day without his Delver abilities. And of course Shanks and Buggy both know how monstrous Blackbeard is. The man does not sleep. But I believe Luffy and him will have the showdown on Laughtale, as he's of course inheriting Rocksteady's Zebek's will, and of course they'll have a Roger Rocks level attack fight, will declash, but of course even better because the One Piece treasure will be at stake. Yes, Blackbeard Marshall D. Tej is an obvious big player when it comes to the One Piece treasure, and even Joy Boy's treasure and how the voice entry will connect Blackbeard's lore as well. Another obvious big player is Monkey D. Luffy, who of course is the main character of the One Piece story, so it's not surprising he's going to be a main player in the One Piece race. Monkey D. Luffy is currently fighting the Gorosei on Egghead Island, and imagine hearing this during Wano. Like, you would be like, what? Is the story ending? You would assume this is the final arc, but it's not even. Since, of course, Luffy became Joy Boy, he's been speed running the pirate game, from taking out the strongest creature alive, Kaido, to being elevated to Yonko status after Wano, to, of course, on Egghead fighting CP0's strongest Rob Lucci, and even an Admiral in Kizaru, and still having to face the Gorosei monstrative-like powers with their mythical powers and their Conqueror's Haki on steroids. Like, Jinbei was definitely proof of that when, of course, he commented on it. He's definitely looks ready for the next step, which is going after the One Piece treasure, but Luffy still has to go to Elbaf and find one more world poneglyph, and of course he also has to beat everybody else I just named, trying to, of course, do the exact same thing as him. But the one thing's for certain, the One Piece treasure belongs to Luffy, especially after he became Joy Boy, aka the man Roger's waiting for. So it's just a matter of when, not if, when it comes to Monkey D. Luffy having a piece of that One Piece treasure. He just told Ben Beckman, let's go claim the One Piece. And the jokes were flying. Shanks is only going for the One Piece after Kaido and Big Mom were defeated. But it seems like he wanted to go for the One Piece not because the threats were lower, but because he saw Joy Boy reappear. That's right. I think Shanks knows more than meets the eye, and now I definitely feel like the fact that he's going, like, let's be honest, just like how Teach took out Law out the race, Shanks took out Eustace Kid out the race, a big player with a 3 billion berry bounty, and gained his 3 world poneglyphs. And of course, he might even have the 4th world poneglyph already. Of course, we all know that he is Elbaf's, how to say this, leader in a sense. Not really leader, but he definitely has that territory. I don't forget that he was hunting Blackbeard after Wano. Like, he expected Blackbeard to be there at Wano waiting for, of course, one of the captains. So I definitely want to say he's not dodging the smoke like people think. People forget that this guy ended the Marineford War and even had Akainu shook in a sense, because Akainu didn't do the craziness that we're used to. I believe Shanks will be a big player for the One Piece treasure, but I do gotta say this, he does have big death flags. So let's see where Oda takes his character, especially when he's the only Yonko on this last page that is not laughing. So now that we talked about every single big player who, of course, wants to try to get the One Piece in Oda's last page that we just recently saw, I want to talk about this. Who will actually get the One Piece? So now at this point, you're probably wondering, who do I think will lay claim to the One Piece? Well, my answer is simple. Monkey D. Luffy. It's an obvious answer. It's not complicated. He's the main character. He's been saying he wants the One Piece treasure. He will get the One Piece treasure. But I feel like Luffy will use the One Piece treasure like how Joy Boy wanted to. But I truly believe we might have some X factors, like Blackbeard getting to the One Piece treasure first, which will just shock everybody and break everybody's ankles like he's Allen Iverson's on the basketball court. Or even have Buggy actually leave with the One Piece and be the last to have it, and not use it like Luffy does, but actually obtain it in a sense. And that would be crazy, because that might mean that we might get, of course, Buggy as a pirate king, which of course would just be funny in itself. But if you truly want to know what I mean when it comes to all these things I'm saying right now, you gotta find out in my next video.